You know what I find amusing? The shock, the disbelief and the complaining coming from within the realm of these conservative commentators whenever one of these conservatives is banned and censored from social media, or perhaps slandered and misrepresented by major media journalists, or vilified by a series of government bureaucrats on the state payroll working for some fake humanitarian committee. But the reaction of these moderate conservatives to being the recipient of that kind of oppression, that kind of treatment, this is unfair, this is against freedom of speech, this is against liberty, this is against our human rights. I wonder if these conservatives have actually stopped once in their lives to fully appreciate and understand communism, to learn about the communists, the people who are basically and currently in power right now all throughout the West, thanks to their subversion and occupation of all the institutions that matter: government, media, education system, law enforcement, military, religious institutions and social life. I suppose for these moderate conservatives, the ruthless and violent oppression of all political dissidents, of anyone who criticises the state system or the mainstream media's dogma, is just something that happened in the past. A controlled media system, a police state, which serves a centralised governing body, which is essentially just the union of corporate and state power. A centralised government which regards regular people as expendable slaves and executes them when they start causing any difficulties or drama, or when they're even suspected of potentially causing difficulties or drama. Surveillance, profiling and arresting and mass executions. Control. Communism. I suppose these moderates of today believe that such a system could never resurmount itself. It could never return in our glorious modern era of pacifism and human rights. Let me tell you what the communists think about human rights. They laugh at them. Your laws, your traditional values, your constitutional documents, the communists laugh at all of it. They don't care about a series of imagined rights you think you have because someone wrote them down on some special and official looking pieces of paper once upon a time. The communists, the initiators of class war, through mass manipulation and propaganda technique, and the expenditure of a great deal of resources, they sold class war to the people of Eastern Europe and Russia. Because there wasn't a great deal of racial divide to exploit at the time, I suppose the most efficient way of duping, dividing and conquering those nations was to convince the poor to fight the rich, the proletariat against the bourgeoisie, which essentially handed those nations over to communist control. Those same communists who are now using an even more extensive and sophisticated brainwashing propaganda system to initiate race war. It was class war, now it's race war. And social justice, of course, which is really just anti-white activism. To successfully divide and conquer entire continents and segments of the world. The communists, the unscrupulous internationalists responsible for ethnic cleansing, mass ethnic cleansing of the most brutal kind, artificial famines, the starvation of 7 million people in a single year in Ukraine. I think that was 1933. Holodomor. You really think these people care about being fair to you, Australian conservatives? You really think they care about your constitutional rights? You think they want to afford you free speech or right of reply? They would probably prefer to see you, your family, and anyone you've ever loved burn alive. They don't like you. They have identified you not just as a threat to them and their authoritarian regime, but the primary threats: nationalism. And don't worry about centre-rights and libertarian and far-right extremists. All these terms are just propagated by the media to divide us. So forget about your beloved political spectrum and your economic ideological differences and start uniting under the banner of your nationality. Start identifying with your nation. That's what it's for. But there's always going to be people out there who are too smart to do that, too clever. And who are you going to complain to, really? Right. I'm being mistreated by the media. They're calling me a racist and a Nazi, saying mean things about me. Who are you going to complain to, really? Are you going to write a letter to some minister? Are you going to go to court? Sorry, they control all of that. You get banned from Facebook. What are you going to do? Are you going to appeal to Facebook? Are you going to write a letter to them? They control Facebook too, which is obvious now. You get attacked on the street, your home is invaded by some of the beautiful cultural enrichment coming out of Africa or the Arab world. What are you going to do? Complain to the state, police, or agencies within? Sorry, that's all in their hands as well. We are on our own. Let me tell you the truth about rights. You don't actually have any but one. Okay? And that includes human rights. You are born with one right and one right only, by nature, the right to fight. Nobody but your own fear or anything that instills fear in you can take that right away from you. All other rights, including human rights, are conceptualized and legislated as a result of fighting. Either you do the fighting or somebody else does it on your behalf. And the rights that we once had in this country, all rights other than the right to fight, are born out of that fighting, are a result of that fighting. So if you're not capable or willing to fight for your own nation, your own community, your own freedom, what rights do you think you have? What rights do you think you deserve? And I can't stress enough how important it is to disregard your right-wing, left-wing, centre-right, libertarian, far-right political spectrum nonsense. Because these communists, the enemy, they don't see you as anything but white. Believe me. To them, there are two different types of white people. Self-abnegating, naive, egocentric idiots who are temporarily useful to them, and nationally minded, strong, moral patriots who are not idiots, who cannot be used by them. And like I said, we have been identified as the greatest obstacle to the erection of their final global authoritarian control. So, as a final thought, if you think getting kicked off Facebook is going to be as bad as it gets, you know nothing. Wait until you get a knock at the door at 2 o'clock in the morning, and when you don't answer, are dragged out of bed by some representatives claiming to be a form of police, some secret police, but they don't even tell you what kind. They throw you into the back of a van, they drive you for 3 or 4 hours. There's a few other people in the van too. They force you to kneel in front of a ditch, they shoot you when they throw you in, along with a few hundred other undesirables or people who were suspected of potentially causing difficulty for global multiculturalism and glorious equality utopia. That's communism. And since you're censored from social media and you're not associating with anybody because you're not able to, you're isolated, you're ghosted, how will it look like anything other than simple disappearance? How will you or your colleagues tell anybody about it? I recommend that you educate yourself on USSR, Bolshevik Revolution, and the communists, rather than just regurgitating the Hitler bad, neo-Nazis tried to take over the world bullshit narrative fed to you about the Second World War. Research the communists, because when you find out what they did, it will give you a good idea of what they're going to do.